If we look at the mock-up screens our designer has sent us, we can see that the navigation screen is made up of 3 full-width photo buttons with icon and text, each leading to a specific screen of content. There are many ways we can accomplish this in our front-end development. The one I'm going to show you in this chapter is by using a collection view. Collection views allow us to present ordered collections of data items in a customizable layout. More specifically here, it will give us the advantage of auto-sizing each photo cell proportionally to the user's device screen size and give us the flexibility of adding or removing navigation items to our app should its content evolve in future. So let's start in our storyboard. And I'm first going to delete the view controller I had placed in the previous video and drag a collection view controller in its place. We also need to recreate the segue from the splash screen. Now, from the Attribute Inspector, I'm going to configure my collection view. So I'm going to select it from the document outline, and then I need to uncheck the Scrolling Enabled option. This is because we want our navigation items to be fixed on screen. All 3 of them can fit perfectly on the screen, so there's no reason for user scrolling. In the Size Inspector, I'm setting the cell size to 320 for the width and 190 for the height. And I'm also going to remove the cell spacing and line spacing, since as per our mockup, there's no space between our photos. Later on in our code, we'll be adding a more dynamic way to size cells and optimize our photo display. So let's select the prototype cell itself and set its identifier to navigation cell. It's time to create a new class to manage our view controller. So I'm first selecting my Splash View Controller class from the navigation panel, and then with a control click I can choose File, New File, Cocoa Touch class, and make sure that it's a UI Collection View Controller subclass, and let's name it Home Nav View Controller. You can see that Xcode creates a file with a lot more boilerplate code than we had before. To make it clearer, I'm going to delete some of it. Towards the top of our class file, there's a line that defines our reuse identifier, private let reuse identifier equals cell. Now, you remember that in our storyboard, we've already set an identifier for our prototype cell. We called it navigation cell, so we can delete that line. And of course, delete the references made to it in viewDidLoad. And inside the self-item-at-index-path method, instead of the reference to the reuse identifier, we can write our navigation cell variable. The mock-up design for the app has 3 different photos for the navigation screen, so we need to import these into our assets folder. Alright, next we need to hold a reference to our photos so that we can display them. So back in the Collection View controller class, I am going to create a new variable called photos, and it's going to be an array of strings. So I have created an array called photos containing the name extensions already set in the file name of each photo. Okay, let's take care of the data source methods. We only need one section in our collection view, so in the number of sections in collection view method, I'm going to return 1. In the number of items in section method, I am going to pass photos.count. Since the number of photos displayed is the number of references we have in our array. Back in the storyboard, I'm informing our collection view controller of the class that will be managing it. Like so. Click on the collection view controller class, and inside the identity inspector we can choose home nav view controller. Now it's time to customize our prototype cell. Here I've added an image view that will hold the cell photo, and I've set constraints so that it will take the whole width and height of the cell. We now need to create a custom cell that will manage our image view and pass it the correct photo to display. So let's create a new file. And this one will be a subclass of UI collection view cell. And I'm going to name it navigation cell. Inside this new class file, I can create an IB outlet variable to connect the image view to my code. We can make the most of Swift property observers by setting the image to the image view, like so. So what I've done is to create a variable photo name, which will be an optional string. And then inside the didSet property observer, I am unwrapping this variable. And if I am getting a value returned, then I am passing it using string interpolation to create the whole file name link to the image. So just a few more steps and we're done. I need to connect my IP outlet in Interface Builder. And to do that, of course, I also need to specify the class for my prototype cell. After that, I can control-click on the cell in the document outline, and from the pop-up menu, I can connect my photo view variable to my storyboard. When I hover the mouse over the circle in the right margin where my IP outlet is defined, it turns into a plus symbol, and I can then drag a fishing line from it into my image view inside the storyboard. Back in the HomeNav ViewController class, in the cell for item at index path method, I'm going to cast it as a navigation cell. So now we can use its variables. And under configure the cell, I can set my photo name. Cell.photoname equals photos square brackets index path dot row square bracket. Let's check it all out in the simulator. We have our 3 photos inside a scroll view, but we have a number of issues that need fixing. Namely, the placement and the sizing of the photos. The way to achieve this is to first make our class conform to the UI collection view delegate flow layout protocol, and then return the dynamic screen size from the size for item at index path method. So back in our class file, I'm going to add my protocol in a class extension. And then I just need to add the size for item at index path method. So first, I'm creating a constant that will hold the screen size parameters, and then I'm returning the width of my screen and the height of my collection view divided by the number of photos to display. Let's build and run. Now, let's add the navigation bar designed in our mockup. We simply select the view controller and go to Editor, embed in Navigation Controller. And we also need to change its color to black. And set the text to white. Perfect. Now, one final tweak. Let's set the aspect fill mode to our image view. And now we can build and run in the iPhone 6 simulator. Perfect. And let's check in the iPhone 5S simulator as well. Fantastic. So that was a longer chapter than usual because there was a lot to cover. In the next video, we will finish the implementation of the custom design for our home screen cells.